Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bill Namen's Bogus Hangout. I'm going to start introducing the guests. Zara, will you please introduce yourself? Tell us what you do.
I'm Zara Altair, and I write content for small businesses.
Steve.
Steve Grinter with Steam Driven Media.
Terry.
Terry Van Horn, up to no good.
Thomas.
Tom Zickel, founder of Blueprint Marketing.
Doc.
Doc Sheldon, Intrinsic Value SEO.
And I'm Bill Slosky of SEO by the Sea and the Director of SEO Research for Go Fish Digital. So everybody, I've been seeing a lot of questions recently on Twitter about domain authority and page ranking. And people are still arguing about how pages get ranked at Google. And I've always been under the apprehension that PageRank is a type of query independent ranking signal that pages are ranked by. PageRank and relevance. And people always bring up, but sites are penalized on either the whole site or sections of sites. Now, sites have nothing to do with domains. I mean, some domains are full sites. Some domains are partial sites, like a WordPress.com. Can be lots and lots of sites. Now, different subdomains means different sites. So why is there so much confusion about this page ranking versus domain ranking?
Because some people
One is
just
a
get
Moz
stuck.
metric. Should be skeptical. With good reason.
I say that and I get shot down. I get told, don't you believe in ranking sites? I can rank sites anyway. Domains, pages, it doesn't matter. I rank them all.
But they're really
That's how I make my money.
Right.
You don't like money?
It seems like in theory, yeah, you could rank them all, but it seems to me like just like text relevancy, there's got to be page content relevancy.
I remember having an Angel Fire site, and that meant I had subdomain, not a domain.
No, it's like a WordPress.com. Yeah.
Yeah. Or a blog
But
spot.
I'm pretty sure if I link out from my WordPress.com site, I don't think that I'm passing a whole lot of WordPress or automatic domain authority to the recipient of that link.
Google quit doing that a long time ago.
And there's no real need to try to increase the domain authority of your domain.
No.
I mean, it's not going to help anything rank any better or worse. It may make it easier for you to sell links from your site, but we're not supposed to sell links anyway.
I always saw it as
that's what the old PageRank toolbar was for.
No, do you remember when SiteKing got penalized for selling links from different pages with different amounts of domain? And they reduced his PageRank to a 2 from, I think it was originally a 7. So he filed a declaration for injunctive relief to get his PageRank back.
And Bob Massa
good luck with that.
For it.
And the Supreme Court said no.
Did that go all the way to the Supreme Court?
It did. It said PageRank is freedom of the press on Google's part.
Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to tell you you're PageRank 9, you're PageRank 9. They're the ones in charge of it. Yeah, so they made a federal matter out of it.
Well, it seems to me that bringing up something like that and starting a huge discussion
Yeah.
is like the same thing as the people who send you the emails that they can help your page rank or whatever it is, you know, that they're proffering as their SEO service. And it's like a made up label that they can plunk in and tell you that they're going to be able to do something or not. But
Well, let me give you another made up label.
yeah,
So what is your money or your life page site?
It's a site that either deals with over $5,000, $5,000.
Has nothing to do with dollars.
Like it does in
Has
some ways.
nothing to do with a
Well, let me
dollar amount.
yeah.
So okay,
Nope.
well, the way I understood it, a legal site, a lawyer is a money in your life site because they could affect your life quite a bit. It's something that could either impact you financially in a great manner, or or impact your life in a great manner. So therefore,
Okay, so I have a follow-up
higher
question.
credibility.
I have a follow-up question. Why did John Mueller suggest that if you have sites that have both your money or your life content and non your money or your life content, that you're better off separating them?
That makes a lot of sense, given that the bad pages, the ones without any authoritative information on them, will actually hurt the pages that do. And there's the fact that a few weeks ago, Google mentioned that if you have two sites that are associated, they'll still count the two of them together. So he's not really, I know right away, most SEOs would think, well, if you split them up, you're splitting up the links. You're trying to promote two sites. Not necessarily.
And it's not the point I'm working towards. The point I'm working towards is you're, in effect, ranking all the pages of a site as if it were one type of thing. Your money, your life page, a non your money, your life page, based upon the site it's on. So it's sort
That
of like
makes no sense.
It's sort of like you're ranking pages
Well, wouldn't it be
based on some tag that you're applying or label that you're applying to it.
if you go to a site that's money in your life, shouldn't the entire site only have money in your life level content on it?
No.
That would be your best bet. Because the content with no authoritative person behind it or writer behind it would hurt all the other content. I saw many,
but then
almost every site that
we're-
got hit in that Systrix list.
We're saying
That
there's
was
no
the
such
case.
thing as domain authority. Is there site authority?
Pardon me?
We're saying there's no such thing as domain authority. Is there site authority?
Not in Google's world, but I mean, not that they show us or anything like that. And Google said recently that there's no technical.
Well, they're tagging on the basis of sites. So you have your money or your life site, and you have parts of the site that might not be your money or your life. And people from Google are telling to break them up into separate sites.
That would make sense.
But
too.
they're sort of giving us a site authority.
Because the money in your life site needs to comply with certain measures.
They're labeling sites, and then they're saying you should make sure all your pages apply to those labels.
That makes sense. I didn't know that they were actually adding the labels, Dave.
So to a degree, they're causing the confusion.
Yes,
tell me it ain't so.
but
That'd be the first
you had
time.
a-
I don't think so.
It may
Let's
not
say
be the
you're-
first time, but it certainly is them causing part of the confusion.
let's say you're a financial planner, right? The amount of information that goes into anything that's content You know, the content that's produced on that site has to be looked at by, on average, 2 to 3 people.
Right. I'm just saying I think they should be labeling things on page basis instead of site basis.
I don't disagree.
When they say we want it all, they have no place to put it all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, you look at a contact form, and I guess that what are you gonna write? That's money in your life. I guess it's your contact, you know, like, or a, you know, privacy policy or something. But I'm a firm believer that, you know, people in certain niches, like you're in the legal niche. You're in the legal niche for such a long time. Like, you know, the advice given, even though they can't technically give advice over the website, it's much more powerful than a layman's interpretation of, like, if you give advice about let's say a law or someone in a certain predicament, that's more, that should be held to a higher standard than anyone giving any information. It's not like going on Reddit and just saying, hey, what do you guys think about this? And then stating your circumstance.
I think, you know, to me, the safest approach is to always look at it on a page basis. You know, if I have a page on my site that is, let's say on my blog, I'm vehemently just ripping a new one on Trump every damn day, but on another page of my site, I'm trying to offer solid COVID-19 medical advice. Those two pages should not affect each other. The COVID advice, is, regardless of how valid it may be, should not bolster my opinions about Trump, and my opinions about Trump should not detract from the value of any medical advice I'm offering, okay? They should be seen independent. And most of the signals from Google, they are being seen independently. But then I think that John's comment, you know, when you start talking about sites or domains, that muddies the water. It just confuses the issue. And to me, I just always look at it on a page-by-page basis. I don't like mixing that kind of content because I think, again, falling back on the user perception, reputation, and all that, you know, there can be a real detriment. But I don't look at that as a major concern from an SEO standpoint. I worry about the page.
Yeah, well, all I'm saying is sometimes Google confuses the issue.
Absolutely.
Sometimes they're the ones causing people to not understand what's going on.
I actually have a friend that gets a lot of traffic, a tremendous amount of traffic for their own blog, and they're mainly in InfoSec, but they write about everything that's on their mind. You name it, right? A billion things. Yeah. And they've been writing since the mid-90s. It's got a lot of content, and it gets, you know, probably has 50 visitors at any time on the site, so minimum. And
are you familiar with Schneier on security?
Yeah, I know them. Yeah.
Okay, so every Friday he turns his blog into the Squid blog, and he writes about squids.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And the threads, the comments on the Squid posts are about security, and he opens them up to any questions about security, and he'll answer any security issues you might have.
Yeah.
But the posts on Fridays are always about squids, even though the rest of the week they're always about security.
I think you can do that and safely get away with it. Like this one, DanielMeisler.com, is mostly about security, but then it goes into everything. Like, what's the difference between fascism and communism? And it ranks number 2 for that. Like, it's, you know, like to do that and to be able to talk about like red team, blue team, InfoSec stuff at the same time and rank number 1 for that. That's it shows the diversity that Google's able to handle.
But these your money, your life labels, they're talking about having EAT scores associated with them. And we don't really know. We don't
having what words?
About having EAT.
Oh, EAT
information associated with your money, your life. But there are no exact EAT scores.
Right.
They don't have official reputation scores or authoritativeness or expertise scores. There's a website representations vector patent, which says it analyzes using language models what the words are on a website, all the pages of a website, the whole site. And it says this site is written by doctors for doctors. And it's best to answer questions that a doctor might answer, like, what are the symptoms of XXX?
If I take this with this, is it all right?
And there's another level, another niche of medical sites written by medical students, which isn't as detailed. And then there's another set of medical sites written by lay people, where people say, I'm diabetic, I eat this type of diet. This is potentially the best diet for people with diabetes like
What
me.
worked for me?
Those were the sites that got hit worse than medic, were the ones that were lay people giving information, even though the information may have been good. They were getting hit.
The ones that seem to me to have gotten hit really hard are the ones that were sort of using a pseudoscience.
Mm. Yeah, like a grandmother's remedy or something like that. That's sort of not proven in any way.
Yeah, I remember reading something where Google said that they were downplaying that stuff, that they used to accept people who had a disease as being almost like experts in it, but they cranked that down in Medic.
Yeah, I think, wasn't that in one of the quality raters guides? I think that if they talked, if it was talking about patients who actually suffered from that disease, that had more credibility than somebody who said, my brother had that, or I've heard of people who had that. And they've backed off of that. Yeah.
Or people who've had it were giving good information, but it wasn't from a professional, right? So you could have a disease, know a lot about it, but you're not, Google's still not going to accept that you as an expert, whereas in the past they did.
Well, and there's an awful lot of doctors out there that don't know shit about an awful lot of diseases too.
Why I don't go to doctors.
So you get this disease, take this drug. It'll treat that.
Yeah.
Or just take
That'll
this
keep you
drug
coming
'cause
back.
I think you may have a disease. Yeah.
Because we don't want to cure you, but we want to treat you. So you keep coming back and paying us for the treatment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
American medicine.
That's all that is. Not just American, that's all of them. You're there, they have to find something wrong.
I mean, it's true regardless of whether you're talking pills or you're talking pins, needles.
I won't take any drugs. Only ones that come out of Mother Earth.
You gotta go to the doctor.
The rest of it's all no good for you.
You should see a doctor for sure. Then they'll fix you.
Really, I was reading on this site.
I like what Helpline's done in terms of they've put in fact-based and evidence-based tags on their content, and their writers are professionals. They have a lot of great credentials. Their writers were really well educated team, I should say.
Have you seen the site usability.gov?
Not the .gov one, no.
Mm-mm.
Okay, usability.gov was created by the National Cancer Institute. And they created it because they were trying to create a site about usability for all their treatment providers. Because they had lots of treatment providers who were helping people with cancer issues, and they found out they had lots of different levels of talent. Some people were really good about building websites, and some people were really bad at building websites. Yeah. So they were providing them information to help them build better websites.
Wow.
It's extremely important.
So they used science or evidence-based tools, steps, milestones, mileposts said this is the ideal contrast for a website so that people can read your website easily. And here's our evidence-based tools for this.
You want certain fonts and certain colors too. Yep.
Purple and pink?
It depends on what type of background you have.
It's the purple background with the pink, little tiny pink font.
I love to see that lime green text on a yellow background. Boy, that.
All the time. I see that stuff all the time where you go to the homepage and it tells you what they do in small letters, and you're like, okay. And then where do you click? Can't even find the button. And you're like, oh gosh, wow.
We use the 0.001 font.
You click around enough.
You'll never find it on your page. It's not invisible text. It's just really small.
Yep.
Times 5 or something. Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of great resources for UX out there. I'm happy to know about that .gov one. That's really good to know.
The usability.gov?
Yeah.
I've used it. I've taught people about it. It's
stuff.
a good tool to show people who are building websites because it'll help them build better websites.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
that's really cool. I'm gonna go check that out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's really even more important now with the way Google is shifting their evaluation and emphasizing usability for sites.
So the user experience sites were always fun. My favorites were Jacob Nielsen's usability site and Jared Spool's usability site because they always had opposite conclusions.
Yeah, one was right and one was always very, very, very wrong.
Jacob Nielsen said these are the 10 rules of usability. Number 1, users will not scroll down your page. And you go to Jared Spool and he'd say, people will scroll down your page just as long as you keep on giving them something to read on the page. When you introduce horizontal lines that go across the bottom of the page that looks like the page is over, they'll stop scrolling. 10 years later, Jacob Nielsen says, I was wrong. Users do scroll.
Oh, there was a lot of things he was wrong about back then. He suggested that everybody use the exact same navigation, always placed in the same place.
Always in the same colors.
Yeah.
Oh,
Blue
wow.
means you haven't visited yet. Red means you've visited that page.
But when you think about it, it did that. He didn't have to tell us that. Because if you look, navigation is pretty well always in the margins or
It's always been like that. Yeah.
He didn't have to tell us that.
Stating the obvious and taking credit for it.
Well, he can't take
He's
credit
saying
for it if he
like
doesn't
was
tell
some
us.
big, big deal, and everyone just laughed and said, "We're already doing that."
It happens. We've had politicians like that too. So,
And we're going to have more.
I think that's 101 of politics. Take credit for whatever you can.
yeah. It's what helps get you reelected.
Yep. I also think for usability, multivariate A/B testing, in that I don't see it used enough as it should be. I think that more people need to really use Google Optimize, whatever it is, something.
It's a free tool,
Yep, it's a great free tool.
and Google has a free survey tool.
Yep. I love like Hotjar. I love Search Pilot. I love Optimizely, but I also like Optimize as well. I think there's a Optimize 360 or something now that they have as well, like a more enterprise version. But whatever the person's circumstances that needs it, they've got something at least for free. And doing A/B testing can show you a lot about, can gain you a lot of traction.
Except most websites don't get enough traffic
To actually give a real number.
to verify
That-
that the
that's
usability
true.
tests are valid.
Right.
When
That's
you're
very true.
when you're running an A/B test and you're getting 20 visitors a day to your site,
It's worthless.
it's not going to be helpful.
Right.
I found that the
3,000 to
amount of
4,000.
traffic, right? No matter how much you had, Bill, I was every link on a page, I was basically making an event in
Analytics.
GA, and I found it did help. It didn't matter the amount of traffic because it showed me which links on the page people were using. That's how I discovered they ignore the big heroes shit at the top of a page, and basically it's the nav bar and the footer and the links in the page.
And you
Those
can
big hero images and slideshows are summarily ignored.
you can use tools like heat map programs to tell that too.
Yeah, that's a poor man's way of doing that. Not too many people can afford that. The other stuff.
Hotjar has a free version now, and they have a paid version. Their free version is quite good. I think.
I like it tied into GA. That way I can associate it with the other events that happen after, etc.
They have that now. I don't know.
Which one did you just mention, Thomas?
Hotjar.
Oh yeah.
I think when people first see their site for the first time, how other people are behaving, they're always shocked. I'm always amazed to see the recordings and how the clients behave. They're so surprised.
Stephen Krug, the guy who wrote "Don't Make Me Think," always suggested budget usability testing. He said, take a laptop, go into a bar, look over somebody's shoulder, and ask them to go to your website and take some action.
Yeah,
and watch how they do it.
Find the contact page for whatever from this page, or
order a pair of shorts on this website.
Because people that own their own sites are so familiar with it, it's not an accurate portrayal.
I don't even like to test my own programming because I know what will break it, so I don't do it.
I used to do that type of testing with my grandma.
Yeah,
that's actually
mamas and grandmas are really good.
Yep. Here, Grandma, do these things on this website. And if I hear her cussing before she gets 5 minutes into it, I know we should put it up.
And so there's some things you should test, or you should have ways of checking on them. Like if your contact form is still working.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You can use New Relic or Pingdom or tools like that to tell you if
Or you can wait around and have nothing to do as it stops working, and you don't hear from anybody. I've seen that in action. It's been
if
real
you suddenly
quiet
find
here
yourself
today.
if you suddenly find yourself with lots of spare time, check your contact form. It may be broken.
your OS.txt could be set to disallow. It could be a lot of
Because if you aren't getting spam every day, it's probably broken.
It's true.
Or that former client that hasn't talked to you in 6 months and calls you up and says, "We haven't gotten any orders in 2 weeks. What happened?" It's like, I don't know. You quit paying me, so I quit watching.
That's how it works, right, Steve?
It's amazing how that works. Now you know what that monthly retainer fee did. All your backups that didn't get done, and now your website's hacked, and you're not getting any orders, and it's going to cost you 10 times as much to fix it now.
Nobody's been clicking on my links. You have any idea what is happening, Steve?
As a matter of fact, I do. Let me introduce you to this thing called web rings.
I've always found when there's a hack site, SecureEye is a great inexpensive program. Most hosting companies on dehack sites, WordPress sites, But SecureEye, even though they merged with GoDaddy, which I don't like, always has a fair price. If you want it done fast and easy, and you don't have, if someone doesn't have any other resources in the web dev world, they just want a clean slate, they'll do a great job.
Are they reverting to an earlier version of a site?
That's good. Then you have to change. You have to figure out that they broke in already. So you have to look at how they got in and then prevent them from being able to do it again.
I usually know how they got in. It's that plugin that hasn't been updated in 3 years.
Yeah, the one with the giant, like in every form when you Google it, it says been hacked.
Though the people have been getting more creative about how they're getting in.
Oh yeah, they can get in. I mean, unless you're running, I don't want to say there's anything that can prevent someone that's really determined to from getting into your site. I believe on if they really want to get in, they'll get in. But it's just the cost-benefit analysis of whether or not it's really worth it. If you give them a little bit of a fight, I think that's definitely will prevent a lot of hacking. I really like Fastly with Signal Science for WAFs, and I like Cloudflare for WAFs for protection, and SecureEye is great too. There's a lot of great programs out there, but Cloudflare is one of the least expensive at $20, I think, for security.
I pay less than that for Azure. Get the same speed.
In a web application firewall?
Pardon me?
With a web application firewall?
Well, no, that's built into the server anyhow.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's good.
I'm not a big fan of those add-on plugins. And
I'm not a fan of plugins
CDN and all
for
that
security. I love reverse proxy CDNs, but I don't.
I have a theory that people who have to use CDNs haven't built their website right to begin with. That's just me. Not saying I'm right. That's just
there's some truth to that. It is a band-aid in some cases, but
a big band-aid.
But if you have a perfectly optimized site for speed and you put that on top of it, then it goes even faster, and it secures it. So
I don't like that it just makes everything more complicated to do. That's all.
Like clearing cache and stuff. Yeah.
Well, it does make it more complicated, but there's two instances that I would go to a CDN, and that's if I've got like a photographer who is offering downloads of massive image files. I'd much rather serve that from a CDN than from my host.
Oh yeah.
Or if I'm dealing with an international market, and I've got folks in Beirut and Toronto and London and
I can
Perth.
do that with Azure.
Yeah, well, I'm not familiar with Azure that well, so probably so. But I mean, then I can see a CDN being worthwhile.
Right.
But it became a buzzword. So many people were just Cloudflare did some pretty good marketing, and they made a lot of people believe that you had to have a CDN if you really want to make your site quick. And really, I think what they're like Thomas is saying, the biggest thing they're offering in many instances is security.
Yeah.
When Google Analytics told me that my site was slow to people in India, I said, okay, I don't talk to many people in India.
I can live with that.
let me look into it and see what I can do. And I started using Cloudflare to speed up the images.
Cloudflare has great tricks right now, like especially the APO, the Automated Performance Optimization Program. What it does, and this is probably a poor description, but imagine someone in Japan clicks on your site once. There's over 200 POPs all over the world. There are points of presence for Cloudflare. It'll actually cache the site for the first click. That person has to go to the origin. Then it will push it to all 200 POPs for the remainder of the time that you set. So let's say you set 24 hours, it'll stay cached for everyone. So there's no going back to the origin no matter where they are. And they did Kinsta did a very interesting study, and ServBolt, and so did a few others, and Cloudflare themselves. They shaved quite a bit of time comparing to a regular CDN, which is not a non-reverse proxy. And I was impressed with that.
Yeah, that does sound like a good idea, especially for like a news site that's going to get an awful lot of traffic. perhaps the beginning of each day, each cycle.
Yep. Yeah, and you can also apparently they now allow AMP URLs that are not hosted through Google. They have their own AMP system, so they'll give the same link, which doesn't have the Google Forerunner link on it. It does on certain devices, I believe. On Android devices, it doesn't, and on Chrome, it doesn't. But on iPhones and other browsers, I believe it still has the Google caching system. So like for news sites but I'm a huge fan of Fastly. I think that what they've done is amazing. And, it goes to show there's some big sites out there running all of these things, right? And it shows how little IP addresses matter, where they actually come from today, and how much people used to count on Google thinking an IP address mattered so much. So all these things are using, dynamic IPs all the time.
Terry,
Yes.
you seem to have an issue with the Google product review update.
Not an issue. Just saw a lot of similarities between this Google review update and what I saw in the first medical alert for the e-com sites listed in the Systrix winners and losers.
Yeah.
Reviews and testimonials on e-commerce sites were hit hard in that first medical alert as well. And I believe that, like with Panda and Penguin, more machine learning, this is just smoothing that out further.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I've seen a lot of sites with reviews that frankly don't look real. And, Trustpilot or whatever system, they've compiled a lot of reviews, and it's very strange that they're all 5 stars. No one has any issue with anything. Although you look at the comments and you're like, wow, how the system hasn't even picked this up. Maybe Google's getting a lot better at that, or they've already been good at it and they're applying it.
I know Google's been looking at reviews and questioning when all reviews from a source are 5 stars or all reviews from a source are 1 star. Why you would have that type of bias with those reviews?
Yeah, statistically, it would be very improbable, impossible almost.
I know I've got a client right now. We're trying to deal with a 1-star review that she loved what they did and reached out to her about it. And she's like, well, yeah, they were number 1, so they got 1 star. And it's like, oh no.
Oh, wow.
That's not how this works.
Gold star for the day.
To her how to go. It's like, well, we'd really appreciate it if you go back in and change that. And oh my God, it's been one of the most entertaining things I've done in the last few weeks. Nice little old lady, and she's like, well, can I just give you my login and have you do it? And it's like, no.
You're number one.
No.
So I'll put
my
you
God.
1 star.
I have a friend with one bad review that's really, really bad, and it says it's mad at him for not representing him against squirrels. He wouldn't take a case against wildlife, and it really, really is very negative. And he's like, I cannot legally sue a squirrel. I'm sorry.
Is he a lawyer?
Yep. This guy basically put together, those charts you see on the crime show, put together like the head squirrel and all that. I feel bad for the guy, but he's very, very confused about how.
I look at those kinds of reviews as a wonderful opportunity for a ton of publicity. I mean, you start reaching.
There you go.
You just start reaching out to news organizations and people who do all articles and memes, and you just start saying, "Look at this crazy shit. Talk about it."
Go to YouTube, have some fun, interview some neighborhood squirrels, man.
Those non-relevant links pointing to your website.
Yeah, that's true. You could bring your iPhone to the source of the crime, and
I mean, there were some ecological lawsuits in the 60s where a bunch of trees were trying to sue somebody, and the Supreme Court ruled that trees do not have standing to bring those suits.
That's good.
That's scary that we would allow our Supreme Court to waste their time on something like that, you know?
Really?
Well, when you if a cop pulls you over and asks you if you have a large amount of money, and they are allowed to take it on suspicion of whatever, that you're doing something nefarious with it, your money actually is the thing that they have the case against. It's very strange.
That's in rem jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Civil asset
It's
forfeiture.
it's against the property or the money rather than the person.
So I'm safe on that one. I'm married. Not going to be a problem.
And
$20 a week, right, Don?
Oh,
Yes,
I
but
wish.
do you favor gray squirrels or red squirrels?
I have to find out who the head honcho was. He might have been working with like gangs, you know. Might have combined.
But seriously, you could really have some fun with that and make some great publicity. Get on your YouTube channel, find a Russian squirrel and interview him. We've got organized squirrel crime here, you know.
There was a news story about 5 years ago where a mother and child were chased out of a park in Winter Park because of a squirrel, a rabid, terrifying squirrel, and someone just colored its eyes perfect color of red, and because they put up a huge sign, "Beware of squirrels," and perfect. I got such a kick out of that all the time. But it would be great to put it on the web, something like that, you know, because it's an actual real like town-made sign. You could really tie it into the whole story of the kingpin squirrel and how he's gnawing through your roof or something. No good.
By the way, one thing that was mentioned in the post about those that review update, that's a continuing algorithm. In other words, it's going to be refreshed like Panda and Penguin was at first.
in batches.
Pardon me?
In batches. Sort of like Google Dance was a batch type thing.
The same deal where they will refresh it once in a while.
So once every 28 days.
No, I don't think it'll
Something
be
like
like
that.
that. I think it'll be more like the Panda and Penguin updates where they were every couple of 3 months for a while, and then they just rolled it into the algo.
They came out with an announcement one day, Penguin's now incremental. It'll update itself.
I don't think so. I think it collects data all the time, but that has to be processed in order to link it to the site.
It seemed to me for a long time that Google was either ignoring some links. If they questioned the links and thought they were spammy, they easily ignored them. Then they started trying to penalize for them. And the penalties were something that affected traffic to a site. They didn't just not count the links. They caused the sites that were responsible for the links to be harmed.
Yes.
To not rank as high.
I fixed some of those sites. They were fixed, but they never bounced back. Some of them never ranked again. That's why now if someone comes and they have a Penguin problem, I just say start over. Don't waste your time trying to fix it because it's never going to rank.
Yeah, there are always sites that scrape people and copy links that you don't want to be linked from. You don't want to be linked by.
Right.
So once you were hit by that Panda algorithm, it seemed like you had a new label attached to your ass that you were never going to lose. In other words, your site would never be trusted again. That site.
So you'd have to get a new domain, basically.
Yeah, but even if you took a new domain and put the same content on it, same deal.
We'll figure it
The
out.
content's basically screwed.
So that's one that Mitz and Gall came out with the blog post with the 23 questions. Like,
Yes.
would you trust this site with your credit card information?
Yep.
Right.
And if you said no, it shouldn't matter what domain was attached to that content. You still wouldn't trust it.
Right. Yeah. Once Google reindexes that domain, they'll find out it's the same thing, and they apply the same penalty.
Well, and that, for me, what it shows about this update is that it's a machine learning one. It just keeps learning more and more about these things, and will clamp down harder and harder with each one.
It feels to me like it's doing the same thing. Yeah.
Because on top of Panda, there were at least 2 other updates that were just refinements of something else that was in Panda. For instance, what's above the fold? That when that update came, it was just an extension of Panda, because that was originally in Panda, even though nobody really picked it up. Well, Dave and I picked it up, but we're special.
Not the short school bus type of special.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think more and more machine learning is just going to be give Google all the knowledge that they want on any sort
So the last machine learning patent I ran across said, okay, so we have information retrieval methods we've developed to rank pages, and we've come up with machine learning methods which use those information retrieval methods and build upon them. And they're more computationally expensive, but we can afford the expense now. We can provide more accurate information because we're still looking at the information retrieval stuff, but we're doing a better job with it.
I think they also, using the machine learning, are better able to figure out what is the bad stuff on a site.
Oh yeah.
Right, by looking at the characteristics of bad ones. And
right, when they use machine learning for videos, they're not just reading the text on the YouTube page and ranking a video based upon that text. They're actually watching the movies, collecting all the audio, seeing what happens. So if you do a search for car chases on YouTube, you'll get videos that have car chases that say nothing about the car chases on the YouTube page, which has text about it.
Right. It might just be a James Bond movie clip, which shows a car chase.
So they're collecting.
So they know what a car chase looks like in a video, and attach characteristics of that to it, and
right.
That's how they do it.
So they can say these are the videos that have car chases. They don't say car chases in the text for the video.
Right.
But there are videos that have car chases.
So Google is finding the images of car chases even though there's no verbal correlation.
Right, because they're using machine learning to actually watch the videos and tag information about what's happening in the videos.
On your iPhone, you can type bikinis if you want. If you have photos of anyone in a bikini, and it will pick them out. I learned that from a website, and I tested it, and it's accurate. And it does the same with video. It'll pick up videos that do the same thing. So I imagine on an Android device, the same thing will happen. It's probably just all Google Vision.
They probably tag those. It's like tagging pronouns.
But like, how would you get a picture? You would have to understand the pictures. You'd have to understand the background, the focus of the person, and like how much.
It's like Barack Obama is married to Michelle Obama. What school did she go to? She would have a pronoun attached to it immediately, saying that's Michelle Obama. and it can perform that query because it knows who you're talking about.
Right, but in this case, it doesn't. If you try it on your iPhone, upload a couple of photos or something.
I don't have an iPhone.
And it's an iPhone. That's probably why it's happening. I'm not a fan of iPhone.
No, my point is just the machine learning is a big part of it, and it's able to actually make these distinctions. So if you type in boats, you'll get pictures of boats. If you have pictures of boats, if you type in like
right, it's that famous ImageNet machine learning exercise they did at Google with cats. They had the machine learning program watch lots of videos, and one day the machine learning program was talking about cats. And they said, machine learning program, what's a cat? And it showed them pictures of cats. Nobody told it what a cat was.
Unsupervised learning, yeah.
So did iPhone learn about bikinis that way?
I think so, yeah. I think a little bit of everything. It's probably doing it to filter out pornography. It's probably doing it to all sorts of things. If you want certain ratings on age ratings on sites, anyone can type that they're a certain age before they enter.
So I know those programs are doing that with pets too. So you can search on your phone, your Google Photos or your Apple Photos for dogs, and it'll show you pictures of dogs.
Absolutely, yep. Like Google Vision, from what Gary told me, is built into the algorithm already. It's just not. Like I asked him about alt text versus Google Vision. Is it really necessary to use alt text in this day and age? And he said, of course, it's still necessary. But Google Vision is actually being used to pick up parts of the site, which I thought was happening. But be interesting. Do you know of any patents on that being used in the algorithm?
You didn't ask that in a very narrow way.
Have you heard of any patents for Google using Google Vision in its algorithm, or?
Not Google. Nothing they called Google Vision. They don't usually refer to product names.
Probably just
their algorithms. So they said, we're taking photographs on the web and we're learning about entities by looking at those photographs. So, for instance, we understand that a grizzly bear is an avid hunter who often hunts in water and hunts for things like salmon. And it shows a picture of a bear with the fish in its mouth and a bear standing in a stream somewhere.
Yep.
And this is how Google's learning about bears as entities. Because it's not reading knowledge base, it's actually just analyzing what's in the photograph. And it understands what the objects are, what a bear is, what a salmon might be.
Once it compiles enough data, it can be sure that that's what it is, starts going across
so these are how bears react. We've seen hundreds of thousands of photographs of bears.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was wondering the other day about the captchas where they show a whole bunch of pictures and you have to choose the 3 like stoplights or whatever.
That's what's teaching it.
I think they're using that to identify things.
Oh, definitely.
Other uses.
So
machine learning.
Louis Van An was the inventor of captchas. And he developed a number of uses for captchas, but they're allowing humans to identify and label things and make statements about them that computers can't.
Right. I was wondering if they weren't going to use that in autonomous cars or something. All that machine learning from that.
Well, they're using it to help maps and Google Earth.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So they're labeling buildings. You know, those
Yeah.
photographs that you've got of people taking pictures of business places.
Is this a storefront? It's very popular for a while.
Most of the ones I see seem to be related to traffic signals, traffic signs, crosswalks.
I get bicycles and
or
boats.
street numbers.
Is this a boat? Is this a yep?
Also, it's just me. I get the street stuff.
So in Google Photos, there's Google Image Labeler, where they ask you questions about images. And one of them is, which of the following images have beaches in them? And they'll show you like a dozen images that are near water, like a riverbank, a shore, and so on. And you click which ones have beaches.
Right.
And they're actually answering questions about those images based upon how people answer questions.
Right. So that one must be a tough one for the machine learning, unsupervised learning, trying to figure out without it's got the water, it's got the shore, but it can't.
Well, they'll show the same pictures to like 100 people or 1,000 people. And they'll develop some level.
1,032.
They'll develop some level of confidence.
Yeah.
You know, 98% of people who saw these pictures answered this way.
That's an image cohort.
They're setting some type of threshold.
I'm teasing you, Bill.
So do you think if you're talking about bicycles on a website, you have a picture of a bicycle and make it more relevant?
Does the image make the text more relevant? Is that what you're saying?
Or the whole page more relevant?
If you go hunting for recumbent bicycles, then no, because those are things that people hack together that don't always look like bicycles.
It's true. But a standard bike, like a 10-speed or a mountain bike, you think it would benefit the page, of course?
Do you think it would benefit a site if Google did that with businesses, like coffee shops?
You had coffee in what way?
Address information, for instance.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So the name, address, phone, consistency.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they're likely doing that. They can do that with entities in reviews too. Say people do product reviews, and they do reviews of a certain product that's supposed to do some type of thing. And if 50 people provide reviews of that product and 49 of them say it does a certain type of thing, and somebody else says it's great for scaring cats away, they might ignore the one about cats.
That makes sense.
Not me. That's a major selling point.
You got to move those cats somehow.
Usually that's what makes it the featured review for some reason.
At the same time, I wonder if Google would be interested in the IP addresses coming from people leaving reviews, if they could capture that data somehow.
They can associate IP information with logins.
Yep.
So they can see if somebody's logging in from the Ukraine and then 10 minutes later from Houston.
Yep.
And they can say, Houston, we have a problem.
Right. No, I'm just thinking that people that leave reviews for themselves could be caught that way, and then the reviews be ignored.
They probably collect a lot of that information.
Yep. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
I mean, browser fingerprints. Nobody's browser is alike. Everybody's got different things attached to the browser, different settings and different softwares.
Yep. All the apps are a little, yep.
Well, not to mention the MAC address of the machine.
Right.
Yeah. You could spoof your MAC address in theory, but
Yeah. But how many people out there really know how to do that unless they're fairly sophisticated?
very true. Yeah.
I'm constantly amazed at how many reviews we report that are quite clearly fake. And then we get a response back, nope, looks good to us. It's like, no, it isn't, because there's no way this person who's been writing in 6 different languages and posting reviews all over the world all on the same day. It's unlikely.
Yeah,
Especially
they're-
when the review is, I came into the store. I don't know. Fortunately, I think people are getting smarter about not treating reviews as the be all end all of whether something's good or bad.
they can filter them out much better than a human
No,
machine
that's the only thing we can thank Yelp for, that they've devalued the perception of reviews.
We're seeing places like Google tying more information to reviews, like global location awareness information. Did they actually visit the business in question before they left the review, or after, or sometime when they left the review?
Did you check in? Did you have your phone in your pocket?
On products, it's did they purchase the product?
Yeah.
If the reviews that were hit hardest were
Yeah.
UGC, and there was no mention of whether the product was purchased by the.
So you could just write, I bought this Sony TV and it's terrible, or it's great. And that's terrible.
That's why third-party reviews, if I was doing an e-commerce site, I'd use third-party aggregated reviews, meaning product reviews that come from a number of sites, not just one.
Of course, yeah.
And quite often those aggregation places do it at the purchase of the product, after you finish purchasing the product.
If there's some way to verify that they actually purchased the product, that would be even better.
Yeah, that's what I found, is if they could verify that the product was purchased, the review was given a lot more credibility.
It's like if somebody visits a restaurant and they leave a review after visiting the restaurant, that's more believable than them, no record of them having never been to the restaurant before.
Right.
I got to wonder, how does a third-party aggregator, though, determine whether or not you really hit that restaurant? Like Amazon, obviously, they can tell you right there on a book review that you actually bought that title.
Yeah.
But how does a third-party that seems very difficult to.
I would check out the third-party aggregators. I don't think they do products. I think they just do a review of the restaurant.
Well, they do products as well, like Trustpilot and Reviews.io and stuff. You could put in a question of, like, I mean, if you use Shopify or any e-commerce, you could ask the user gets a number assigned to them, and you could cross-reference that if you really wanted to be very thorough about it, and then send out, like, ask them, basically have proof of purchase. But you'd probably get a lot less reviews, unfortunately. People wouldn't take the time to. Or
I think now people get more food delivered than they do actually in the restaurant.
Well, right now, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll be back to the other way soon.
But then there's the problem, we're starting to see more reviews that are based on the delivery service than the restaurant. And the restaurant really has no choice in that. Like, well, this restaurant sucks because their delivery sucked. And it's like, wait. No, that's not a
That's Uber.
That's an Uber Eats issue. Yeah, I've got a couple clients in the delivery space, and we deal with that on a regular basis.
Yeah, Uber Eats does a good job of asking for a survey afterwards of the restaurant, but they also ask about their person's performance, which is interesting to me. And I think Uber's got it under control. Uber Eats has that part under control, but they probably don't share that data. They use it for their own means instead of, like, helping the restaurants.
Yeah, as
I
long
know. I stopped using Uber Eats.
Really? Why?
Yeah.
Bad experience?
Yeah. There's a building with the same number as my building on the street next to mine. And if I order through Uber Eats, the Uber driver will deliver my food to the building on the street next to mine.
Mm.
They'll give me a call saying, which apartment number are you in? And I'll say, no apartment number, they're apartment letters. They say, well, this building only has numbers. I said, you're on the wrong street. They say, how do you know that? I said, I was born at night, but not last night. This isn't my street.
I know my address. Wow.
That happens a lot when those companies use Google Maps. I have not been able to get a delivery to my place.
They're using Uber Maps. They're using Uber navigation. They're using Uber navigation, and that was causing the problem.
Oh, okay.
Uber
I've
navigation
seen it with
was
Google
bringing them.
Maps.
Uber navigation was bringing them to the wrong street.
Yeah. Couple weeks ago, we went to we were out Sawmill shopping, buying wood for the other company, and going to the next sawmill. Google Maps is like, well, turn down this road. It's like, okay, it's a little road, but maybe it's the back way. Then about a half mile down the road, it turned into dirt. And then a half mile down the road, after that, we started running alongside of a really overflowed creek. And then it started getting muddy, and it's like, well, we're going to stop here and get out of the truck and just take a look. And like another 100 feet down the road, it crosses the creek and picks up on the other side in the woods on a little dirt track. And there's no bridge or anything there, but Google decided that is a road, and it cuts 2 miles off your trip if you go there.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad, but the moment we got, because I had to back a mile because there was nowhere to turn around. Finally got turned around, and I didn't go 100 feet, and Google completely recalculated the directions and took me the other way.
Yeah, once you turn around, it realizes automatically you're not going that way anymore.
Well, but the thing is, I hadn't gotten to the point where they had actually told me to turn onto that road yet. I was still on the road.
I've seen a lot of calculations. If you do a UE, it seems like it's an override of the system, and it goes through an alternate route.
Yeah, that was hysterical because, if it had been any other weather conditions, I might have tried to cross that creek because that's the kind of thing we like to do. But what looked like a normal 2-inch deep creek had about 6 foot of water running through it.
Oh, wow.
That might not have ended well. Yeah.
Would have been entertaining.
You could have let Diane drive. Then at least you'd have somebody to blame it on.
Put somebody up on the shore with a camera and make a YouTube video out of it.
There you go.
Well, we're at the top of the hour. So thank you all. Thanks for joining us. Take care. Have a good day.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.